positioning for 2012 is going on already, and the 112th Congress is barely out of the gate. What do you think needs to get done that either is not likely to get done because of politics?
I think the number one focus for the American people is to expand job growth and make sure that we're doing everything we can to expand growth in the country. And I think, one of the issues with having the first, second, third pieces of business be exclusively about health reform, it's really not focusing on what people thought they were doing in this election, which is getting people to actually focus on the economy.
Oh, but they got job killing into the title of the bill. Israel, what's up on the agenda that is important to your organization, Heritage?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The jobs and the economy, the unemployment being as high as it is for Hispanics being close to 12%. I mean, that should be top of the priority. We talked about it earlier, entitlement reform. I think, looking seriously at what needs to be cut or reformed in federal spending. And for me, particularly education. I mean, the fact that, almost 50% of Hispanic students are not receiving a high school diploma in some of our country's biggest cities is something that, to me, should be very sobering, and for us to be spending some time looking at that.
Brent?
Well, we think education is going to be a big priority for us this year. We do think there's a chance to pass something with bipartisan support that would perfect No Child Left Behind and really help create a stimulus to our nation's schooling systems to improve. We think that's absolutely critical. I was very pessimistic about immigration reform, but I actually do get the sense now that, especially with the move in the subcommittee in the House, that there might be an opportunity to see some type of legislation coming forward. So we're going to continue to support that effort moving forward, and we think there's a good chance. And then finally, we think
who's the new chairman there? It's Joe Barton from Texas, right? The Committee of Responsibility for that?
No, the subcommittee is Elton Gallegly from California, but initially we thought it was going to be Steve King, a very tough anti-immigrant congressman from Iowa. He was passed over by the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Mr. Smith, and we were surprised that he did that. So that just seems to us that perhaps the Republicans do intend to come forward with some immigration legislation.
Shows you how context is everything. Elton Gallegly is not one of the big friends of immigration reform on the Hill.
But he's not. I think that there was definitely a reason why Smith did that. So we think that perhaps there might be some movement.
Tom, I know you want to really remake the system, but in the 23-month sprint to the next Congress, what's doable?
Well, they're calling it the Tea Party Congress, for better or worse. I think what has to happen, or what could happen, is the Tea Party starts some dialogue in the context of specific laws about how to actually permanently scale back, cut back government. That is, after all, what a lot of their rhetoric is about, and what their signs and rallies and speeches are about. Now it's time to, have the rubber meet the road and see what they can do. That is not necessarily in conflict with the emerging presidential race. In fact, they ought to be symbiotic. They ought to work together, because the Tea Party ought to be having an influence on the Republican candidates who come up. If they don't, then it's the same old two parties. It's McCain and Obama, and who cares?
But if those signs had to go through some sort of honesty check before you were allowed to carry them at a rally, would they say, cut government, or just cut the programs I don't like?
I think they're sincere, but it's on an emotional kind of patriotic, American, Cracker Barrel, folksy, Sarah Palin type of level, when what the country needs is some intellectual leadership. I mean, the Founding Fathers were intellectuals of the first order. They dealt with political principles at a very fundamental level. There's nobody on the scene who can come close to doing that. Thomas Jefferson, James Madison couldn't get elected to dog catcher in this country if they ran. So if the Tea Party
once it got out that Jefferson spoke French, he'd be done.
Well, if the Tea Party is going to have any effect at all, it needs to be actually inviting in intellectual leadership who's going to make a difference. If that's not going to happen, then the Tea Party is just going to be the latest in a long stream of failed Republican backlashes that'll peter out and disappear just like every other one in the 20th century.